All I can tell you is what I remember.
I went straight back to my bedroom, and he was there behind my bedroom door.
And he said, "Don't turn around and don't scream or I'll kill you."
I was on a date with a guy.
He was fighting me, punched me in my face.
I started screaming for somebody to help me.
And then after that, it's a blur.
They did a rape kit on me. They took a swab of my mouth, my vagina.
And I felt like my body was a crime scene.
I just thought, I'm gonna give them all of this information. They're just gonna go out in a week and catch them.
Really stunning news today about the number of rape cases police have never even tried to solve, not even opening the rape kits.
In Memphis, more than 12,000.
Louisville has roughly 4,700.
San Diego police have nearly 3,000.
Colorado has 6,283.
In Texas, we had over 20,000 untested rape kits.
Untested.
Untested.
Never opened, never tested. It's estimated as many as 400,000 rape kits nationwide. Some cases may be too old to prosecute under the statute of limitations.
I could understand one city being negligent, but a nation?
For a survivor to come forward, to muster that courage, and then have nothing done about it. What are we saying? Who are we protecting? We're saying you don't matter.
I always was told as a little girl growing up, if someone touches you, you tell, you tell, you tell. Wow, and nothing happened.
By not testing the rape kits, we're saying, it's okay, you can do it again.
And part of the terror of being raped is knowing that the perpetrator is still out there.
I am evidence, literally. My name is on a box, on a shelf that has never been tested.
One of my best friends is from Detroit, and so I used to come in my early 20s a lot. So I've always had a deep affinity for the city. A lot of people are saying you can't do it. This is the 5th most violent city in the country. And people are going, Detroit? Really? Detroit? Sweetheart, there's other places you'll get a lot further with than Detroit. But I say, sweetheart, that's where we're starting. A lot of people just don't know about this problem. And I was one of those people. And then you meet people like Kim Worthy, and you see what she's doing. You sort of can't help but say, what am I doing? When I first met Kim 4 years ago, Detroit had just discovered 11,000 untested kits. Kim's commitment to test every last kit here in Detroit is so remarkable. I've been playing Detective Benson on SVU for 15 years, and when I first began, letters started coming in from viewers. These men and women were disclosing to me their stories of abuse. And at first it was a few, then it was more, then it was hundreds, and then it was thousands. A majority of them included some version of, I've never told this to anybody before. And here I was, an actress on a TV show, getting these letters, and I was immersed in these issues. So I educated myself, and I got involved. To me, the rape kit backlog is the clearest and most shocking demonstration of how we regard these crimes. Kim's tireless and relentless work here in Detroit is unwavering and unstoppable.
I had absolutely no clue that people stockpiled rape kits. I had no clue that anyone would do that. I just never imagined that it was anyplace else than here.
I was asked by the Detroit Police Department to accompany them to an off-site property room. I went there. During that time, I noticed the racks with boxes with rape kits in them. And I asked what's in those boxes, and they said that those were old tested rape kits. But I pulled some of the boxes, and I realized that there still was the seal on the kits, which would lead you to believe they had never been tested if the seal's never been broken. I was extremely shocked to think that there was just racks of kits sitting in an abandoned warehouse with windows open and birds flying around.
He said, "Boss, you're not gonna believe what has happened, or what I saw." And he described, he said, I saw approximately 10,000 rape kits sitting in this annex to the property room, and that none of us even knew existed. We knew about the Detroit Police Department main property room, but we did not know that there were other places within the department they were storing evidence. And so I said, "You've got to be kidding me," or some words to that effect.
It's so disturbing.
Yep.
So do we know exactly how long the kits were stored here?
Yeah, all we know is the day we found out, which was August of '09.
Do we know how many were
All of
stored
them.
here? All of them?
All of them, yeah. So it looks like they're in the process of tearing it down.
Okay. Let's get on this one. People, human beings. Going to work.
I was dating a guy, and for my 21st birthday, I said I wanted to have a party. And we invited all of my family and all of my friends, and it was just this big deal with balloons and cake. And of course, we danced all across the whole dance floor on the way back, on the chairs. And when we got ready to leave, my boyfriend, he said, "Yeah, we're gonna stop at the store, but I'll catch back up with you in a few hours." So his friend said, "Come on, get in the car. I got you. We've been around each other all this time. I got you." And so we pulled up to a house, and he started pouring drinks. So I took a sip of my drink, and I took another sip. And I remember putting my head on my arm, on the armrest. And then I remember everything just being dark, and I couldn't see anything, and I felt like it was something around my neck, and it was somebody on top of me on this side, and they were touching my breast and kissing on me, and there was somebody in between my legs, and it was just dark, and I kept saying, "Stop." I remember hitting this person, just saying stop and trying to get my legs to be closed. And when I got home, I called the ambulance, and they came and they got me and they took me to the hospital. And that's when they did the rape kit. They snatched and they pulled, and nobody comforted me. When I came out of the hospital, my dad was waiting for me. We went to the detective's office, and my dad was in full dad mode. "So what's gonna happen now? And, so how long is this gonna take? What's the process?" And the man was kind of agitated, the officer, and he said, "I'm just gonna be honest. nothing's going to happen. He said, we're going to put this in a file, and we're going to put this in a box, and it'll have her name on it. And he said, I'm not sure when we will ever get to it, or if we'll get to it. And he said, I can take you to a storage room right now full of people that are before her that haven't been tested for years. My dad just played some music. He played some jazz all the way home. And we got ice cream. And my dad said, it's gonna be all right, baby.
If you look around Detroit, if you're ever out and about, you think about this, about how much safer this all could have been, and how we're going to get to the point where it's much safer when we get all these rapists off the street. So it's going to be interesting to see how, when we're all done with this, exactly how many people's lives have been affected. And really, you have to factor in their families and everybody they had contact with, and since the time. Of course, that's going to be impossible to track, but, it's just a lot of people. Many more than I think people realize. From the very beginning, I felt this way. We had to bring justice to these victims, and even the cases beyond the statute of limitations, I knew I wanted to get them all tested. DNA testing can identify an unknown perpetrator. It can confirm the presence of a known suspect. It can affirm a survivor's account of their assault. It can connect the suspect to other crime scenes, even those in other states and jurisdictions. And it can help solve other cases that may not even be sexual assaults. It can also, and this is very important, exonerate the innocent. Bottom line, a rape kit can bring justice.
So all of these people meet for the first and third Thursday of every month for at least 2 hours to talk about how we got into this mess.
On DPD's end, I was tasked with making sure that we provided what was needed to make this project work. And, there were several things that was dropped in my lap that I didn't know how I was going to be able to get through it, or looking at the officers that investigate these cases. They were overwhelmed, stressed out. How will we bring this all together?
My job in this project was to sort of watch this group come together, to document all of the decisions they had to make. When you find out that you have 11,000 kits, what do? It happened over decades. What was the decision-making process that said, with limited resources, I'm choosing not to send this kit, but I'll send this kit. But the decision not to send that kit was far more common than the decision to send the kit. So I started piecing this together in the late 90s, early 2000s. And then we had New York City break, and we had Los Angeles break, and then the community. I've worked with Detroit, where it showed up in the media. And there was this huge sort of surprise, but for those of us who've been in this movement for a while, it's like, this wasn't a surprise. They have not been testing these kits for decades. In Detroit, certainly finances were an issue. It costs money to test a kit. The money for this in Detroit was just not there. But why didn't they take the money they did have and put it in this crime? That's when you have to dig into this a little bit deeper. You have to open up the police reports associated with the kits that were not tested. And when you do that, that's when you start getting a much more complicated story. Detroit is primarily African American, so over 80% of them were from African American residents of the city. By our best estimates, most of them were poor. So we're talking about poor Black women. It's pretty clear they did not believe the victims. They fundamentally did not believe what happened to them was a crime. They did not believe that what happened to them merited their attention. We read police reports where victims were called bitches, hoes, whores, heifers. They said, it's not really a real sexual assault. This is not worth our investigative time, and it's certainly not worth our limited resources of testing this kit.
I carried the pager. I was one of those social workers that responded to sexual assaults when they happened in the city of Detroit. And if I get a phone call from a nurse's aide who says, girl, if you're in the middle of your lunch, get down here when you can, I knew that I was either going to interface with a woman of color or a woman who might have had a substance abuse issue and didn't belong to anybody, if you know what I mean. But if I got a call from the doctor and they would say, hurry up and get down here, it was one of two kind of women. It was either a white woman or a Black politically connected woman in the city of Detroit. Either she was a pastor's daughter or a politician's daughter or something like that. And it was a pattern. And I'm not saying it happened all the time, but it was noticeable. I believe that there's just a lesser sense of value for women who are Black, that they're just not human enough to even be rapeable. And so these cases just got thrown to the side and not thought about in any particular way.
With the darker pigment of your skin, your life seems to have less value in the criminal justice system. And that's true. You're just taken more seriously in this country, in all aspects, if you have money or if you have influence or if you have power or if you have privilege. It's a national problem.
That's right.
There's over 400,000 backlog untested kits in this country.
Talk to me, though, about what that means, the testing of these kits, how you get from testing it to saying, well, here are the people that we need to start looking at.
The scientists will take whatever evidence is in the kit, saliva, hair, fibers, anything to help get a genetic profile that can then be loaded and entered into CODIS. And CODIS, C-O-D-I-S, is the DNA National Database.
Right.
But there are two different kinds of hits. It either matches to a person's profile already in CODIS, or it can match to another case through DNA from evidence, such as clothing, even if that person's identity is unknown.
Yeah.
So now the next critical step is the investigation and prosecution of these cases.
Right. And so that next step is saying, all right, well, let's go find these people and bring them to justice.
Let's take each individual hit, work up a case the way it should have been worked up when it first happened. So you have to still go find the victim, you have to find the defendant, you have to find the witnesses, any other evidence besides just the DNA evidence, and put the case together the old-fashioned way.
And that gets to all the problems that you have with resources. And
exactly.
You just don't have enough people.
Exactly. Up until a couple months ago, we had 2. And contrast that with the city of Cleveland, who discovered about 4,000 kits several years ago. They had 35 investigators. I think 25 to 35 investigators to our 2 that we had.
In 2009, a guy named Anthony Sowell was caught, and he was a serial rapist and murderer. And at some point, several women reported that he had attacked them, and there was questions whether some of those reports were taken seriously or not. It ended up when the police were investigating a report in late October of 2009, they went to the house to look for him, and in the house, they discovered the bodies of several women. In total, it was 11 women who Anthony Sowell raped and murdered. After After that case, our editors at the Plain Dealer asked us to really dig into how sex crimes were handled. And a part of that was the question of rape kits. We knew that there were a number of them related to the Sowell case that had not been tested. That part for us was really difficult to see how many people had been attacked long after the evidence was there and hadn't been used. So we wanted to ask the larger question, how many of these rape kits here in Cleveland haven't been tested? When they were done counting and sorting through the kits, they had a little over 4,000 that previously had not been tested.
Of course we made mistakes. As a law enforcement community, we didn't realize the potential of what sat behind us in the locker. In this building were these untested rape kits gathering dust. We did not appreciate it.
I was shocked by how many of these we got hits or matches on when we took this unknown DNA, had no idea who it was, put it in the National DNA Database, Ohio's database, with known profiles, and we got a hit.
Those kits start getting tested, they start getting results, and then you have almost another type of backlog, an investigative backlog. Hundreds of new cases were coming in. How do you figure out what to do with them? How do you figure out which is the most important one to handle first?
He's got those 3 events, all related close to time. The DNA evidence that was able to be collected from the clothing, from the pockets and off the sports bra. The victim number 1 and victim number 2.
And as the cases were coming in, they weren't really triaging them to see who was in prison, who was out on the streets. And so when they got a hit for a 2000 rape in which the potential suspect was James W. Daniel III. And several months went by, and in that time before he was arrested, he raped 2 other women. And they had a surveillance video that showed part of this attack. This case really knocked some of the folks on the task force back a little bit because they were so proud of what they were doing, but at the same time they realized that they had to prioritize the cases.
And you can see just how much harm it is for not having tackled this in the past.
We're not keeping up.
No, we're not keeping up.
People who they became aware of as a suspect, they had to ask themselves the question, are they on the street right now? Could they attack somebody else?
We're still working on prioritizing the cases that are rolling in. I know that Nicole has a guy with 2 cases out on the street.
Each of the investigators has anywhere from 80 to 90 cases on their docket, and every day we get another 20 to 30 hits. If there's a statute of limitations about to run, or if we have a serial offender who's out on the streets, those go to the top of our priority list. Okay, we have a hit to a suspect who has been identified in 3 cases, 1 in 95, 1 in 1998. And this 3rd victim that we're trying to locate and notify is a hit to a 1997 case. So we're going to attempt to find her at her last known address and let her know that we have new information on her case. Danielle?
So the reason we're here is because of
the rape in January of '97. What can you tell me about what you remember?
I live next door to like a little convenience store.
Okay.
And I met a guy that went to that store. I think he asked me if I wanted to smoke a joint or something. We went to, I guess, one of his friend's houses or something. He grabbed me by my neck and he pushed me down. And I started screaming for somebody to help me. And I remember because there were people upstairs and nobody came down. He started pulling my pants down. And he grabbed my arms and he held them real tight. And he said, if you don't shut the fuck up, I'm gonna beat your ass. And so I shut up. And he finished. And I got up and I sat in a chair and I just cried and cried. And I didn't really know what to do. And then I started feeling, I don't know, like it was my fault. That I shouldn't have put myself in that position.
You know it's not your fault now, right?
Yeah, I know now.
All right, the series of photos here may or may not contain him in the photographs, and try not to pay attention to anything other than his face.
That one.
How sure are you?
I'm 100% sure.
100%?
That's him. Yeah.
Okay.
Oh my God.
If you could just circle him. Sorry.
That's okay.
And I have to let you know he's not in custody yet. And we are going to try and get him off the streets as soon as possible.
So there's two of us right now, right?
2 local. There's the 3rd hit, so there are 3 different DNA hits to this suspect.
I think for us in Cleveland, one of the most striking things that we learned was that far more of the suspects in these cases than we ever would have thought were suspected serial rapists. We did not expect to find that a third or more of the people were linked to multiple cases. Most men are not rapists, but the ones who are perpetrate again and again and again.
About 4 days after my 17th birthday was in 1996, I had been given a Volkswagen Rabbit, a new car, and I was obsessed with the car. I washed it constantly, and I had taken it to a local car wash. So I was there, and it was dark. And as I was washing it, a man approached me with a rag over his face, asking for help. That man abducted me at knife point and had me captive for about 10 hours, during which time I was repeatedly assaulted. He took $20 from my wallet. He took the money and he took my license. And he took the license, he said, so that he would know where I lived. And he was very clear that if I reported, he would come back and kill me and kill my family. He eventually did release me, and then I went and I flagged a police cruiser, the first cruiser that I saw. I knew that I had to report. I knew I couldn't go home, and even though I was in a state of shock, I knew that I had to do something. Eventually, I was taken to an area hospital where the rape kit was performed. Process takes several hours.
Open up your legs like a butterfly, okay? I'm gonna pull a few pubic hairs.
And a humiliating process, not only because of the physical invasion, but because of the kind of questioning that was going on at the time. All of the questions that I got from law enforcement were asked with the intention of finding out what I did to cause the assault. What was I doing at the car wash? Did I know the person who assaulted me? I felt blamed. I felt blamed right away. My parents are both immigrants. My mother is from Cuba and my father is from Argentina. And when the assault took place, they had a lot of held mistrust for law enforcement and an expectation that we wouldn't be helped. And they were right to think that.
That's the American way. This inequality within the criminal justice system when it comes to people of color or because the economic classes and the difference. So that is so endemic to our society. Of course it's going to have an impact, with police and police investigation.
When we first started, one of the biggest problems was the police. And a lot of other programs were discouraging victims from making police reports because they felt they would be mistreated by the police, and in many cases, they were.
How many rape kits do you have at Central Storage?
Off the top of our heads, we could not tell you. Right.
When the sheriff's department finally counted, they found nearly 5,000 kits in storage. 300 of them were past the statute of limitations.
And it was very confusing in the beginning. You've heard that there were 7,000 kits, and there were 11,000 kits, and there were 12,000 kits. It was fascinating in terms of the confusion around what was really happening. And then we found out that kits had been destroyed, kits had been thrown away.
In terms of the destruction of evidence, I think that may have occurred in the LA County Sheriff's Department. They had, in our view, misinterpreted the statute of limitations and have been destroying rape kits, thinking the statute had run when it hadn't.
Therefore, there were rapists who were not caught. And there were survivors who lived in fear of maybe a rapist was going to come back.
When something like this has happened and you don't know where that person is, that means they're everywhere. They are over your shoulder. They're going to be inside the front door when you walk in. I would come home at night and open the door and imagine his hands coming up to my throat. I could feel his hands coming up to my throat, going up the stairs to my room. In my room, every sound you hear is them breaking into the house. I would have terrible nightmares. I would wake up each morning and imagine going downstairs and finding my family dead. I was afraid to leave my house. There was a time during which I was not functioning. I was not a functioning person. And I can't understand why I was so unimportant, what was so unimportant about me, that someone couldn't take a little bit of their time and help me find out.
I do want to take the time just to say thank you for, the things that you've poured into me and into my girls. Being a single mom is not easy. It's kind of like when you're going through your journey, and you don't have resources or you don't have money for resources, like, well, how do I cope? Sometimes I'm kind of scared because, you know, as a mom, you don't want your kids to see you as anything flawed or anything like that. And in the African-American community, you know, we have other myths, you know, where you can't tell people what happened to you. You don't have faith in
Just
God.
go to God.
Just go to God with
Yeah.
it and let it be there. I mean, this can go back to slavery, how we were forced to, you know, carry things in silence. You know what I mean? Our pain, our anguish, all type of stuff.
I say speak up.
Right.
If you are going through something you don't know how to get out of it, don't hold anything in.
After my incident, I was very depressed. And I didn't have a reason. I didn't have a reason to live. The insecurities and all of the different fears. Now it's just an open wound. I do feel like a big piece of me was taken away from me. You know, I'll never be the same.
And that was how long ago?
I will be 32 this year. That was my 21st birthday. So 11 years?
So you're still waiting for a kid?
No. I wasn't waiting. I stopped. I gave it up on that day. I've never waited because I couldn't wait. I couldn't think about it. I couldn't even expect anything, or I would not. I don't think I would be here today.
For so many years after the police dropped my case, essentially, every once in a while I would see something or experience something that triggered the memory. And I wondered, is it possible that my kit is still out there? I had to keep going higher and higher and higher in the level of people I was getting to advocate for me, to a point where I had, you know, an ex-DA calling the sheriff's department to ask, what happened with Helena's case? You need to tell us more. And within 2 weeks, I had a call from the sheriff's department, who hadn't called me back for 14 years. And they came to my house with what they call the six-pack. And even though it had been more than a decade, I knew right away which one he was. And it was eventually revealed to me that the kit had actually been processed 3 or 4 years prior to my advocates becoming involved, that it had matched to Charles Courtney in that time, and that no one had followed up on it. I feel like a fool when it was, well, why didn't they process? Why didn't they call you? They had a match? What happened? I don't know. And I can't tell you because they wouldn't tell me, other than it fell through the cracks. Because the DNA for my kit had not been processed, he went home. He was a long-distance truck driver, which is another very troubling fact, the fact that he had access to victims between at least Los Angeles and Ohio. There could be who knows how many other victims.
You getting out your piano? It's playing a song. It happened April 21st, 1998. I dropped off some film at the grocery store to get developed, and I wanted to stop by there after I got off work on my way home that night to pick it up. He was out in the parking lot, lingering around, really didn't pay much attention, and I went in and got my film, wasn't in there that long, came back out, and he was still out in the parking lot. Still didn't register in my head anything bad was going to happen. And I went to go get in my car, and he came up behind me and threatened me, said he had a weapon. And there was a parking lot that had a bunch of trailers, truck trailers sitting in them. There was one pulled out, so he had me pull my car in that spot, and that way nobody could see my car from the road. He had me for a couple hours. After he was done doing what he was doing, he threatened me, took my license. He said he would come back and kill me and my family if I reported to the police. They did a rape kit on me, and then after they did all that, then I went down to the police station to make a statement. The police didn't contact me again for a long time.
Amberly was assaulted in 1998. The lab for the state of Ohio finally received enough money to hire someone to put in the DNA from all the backlog rape kits across the state. In 2001, that's when we finally got the call that the suspect's DNA had been in the computer and it finally hit. So I started looking at why. Why was he in the CODIS? I read his record. It said that he had been charged with felony sex offense against his own wife. He raped his wife in the same manner that he raped my victim, Amberly.
A Fairfield detective had left her card in our door and said, please contact her.
It was heartbreaking. She's a beautiful young girl, and she was struggling really, really hard. And to the point that she had turned her life to drugs.
When traumatic experiences like that happen to you, everybody deals with everything in a different way, and it did have something to do with my addiction issues.
I made contact with her after I got a lineup together, and I showed her the lineup. She couldn't pick Charles Courtney out. I could have handed her 100 lineups with him in it. It wouldn't have made a difference. She did not recognize him. And she told me, she said, hey, you know, I didn't look at his face.
I concentrated on one of his tattoos more than anything else with him. And
what was that?
It was a lion on his forearm roaring, and in the background there was a sun. You could see the sun through the lion's mouth roaring.
So I took a picture of every tattoo he had, every one of them. Prison tattoo after prison tattoo. And I went back to Amberly. And then I started showing her pictures of each and every tattoo, and I left the lion's head for last.
As soon as she showed me that tattoo, I knew that was it.
I knew I had enough to arrest him. So the next day I went up there. I called for Hamilton police officers to back me up. 2 of them came out, knocked on the front door, and he answered the door. He answered the door. And I asked him, you Charles Courtney? He said, yep. I said, you are under arrest.
When did you tell Amberly he was arrested?
I think it was the next day.
What was her reaction?
She cried. She cried. She cried, and I think some relief. Because I told her, I said, he's not going to do this again. He's not going to get out. He's not going to hunt you down. This guy's going away. There's nothing anybody can do about it. He's going away.
I never really thought that he would ever get caught because so much time had went by.
Shortly after I had put Charles Courtney in jail, Los Angeles County Sheriff's Department called me in reference to a case that they had with Helena that occurred in 1996, and they had just received a hit that Charles Courtney was also their perpetrator. I faxed them everything I had and thought that they were going to go ahead and proceed with Helena's case. But there was nothing. I didn't hear anything back until about 2011. From what I understand, Helena was still pushing for some resolve on it. A decade on a case that could have been resolved for her. A decade that a police department wasted and not taking care of its business.
I have heard that the prosecution numbers in Los Angeles are exceedingly low, and it's very disturbing to me, very disturbing. I cannot imagine why.
Because they don't prosecute rape cases. I mean, that's like the unspoken problem. That even the cases that get taken, they get rejected. A huge majority of cases.
The ratio of prosecutions and then convictions seems lower here. Obviously, each city is different.
I'm not aware of that data. You're going to have to show that data to me or share with me so I can actually have it checked out. I'm not aware of that data.
When we looked at the 2005 to 2008 cases, and we traced them all the way through the system, only 12% of the cases resulted in in arrest. I think it was 8% of the cases resulted in a conviction, and about 5% resulted in a prison sentence. So in other words, 1 out of every 20 reports of forcible rape reported to the Los Angeles Police Department resulted in a prison sentence. When we asked them, what do you mean by a righteous victim? They talked about cases that involve strangers who jump out of the bushes and hold a gun to her head or a knife to her throat. And these are the exception, not the rule. Cases involving acquaintances and intimate partners are the typical sexual assaults that we see reported to the police.
The roots are the fact that this was happening to women, for the most part, and the misogyny, the inequality, the scandalous belief that women are making up these stories, all fed into having a system that was more than inefficient. It was scandalous.
That report was thoroughly discredited. I'm aware of that report. It was thoroughly discredited. It was flawed. So I'm not even going to talk about it. I will refer you to the people who did the analysis of that report. It was thoroughly flawed.
I did a thorough review of the research methodology. And the research methodology that was used by Spahn and Tullis is very rigorous. From the methodological research point of view, there was nothing that was problematic with the study.
When you're going to take someone's freedom away and impact their lives and their families' lives by putting them in prison, and for sex offenses in California, you go to prison for a long time. You better be accurate. You better have a high standard. And law enforcement sometimes do bring cases to prosecutors, and ultimately the decision is the prosecutors to make.
Cooley might find the study disreputable for a few reasons. One is the district attorney is an elected office, and the results suggest that not as many acquaintance cases were taken forward. And that's not good press.
On average, 86% of sexual assaults that are reported to police are never referred to the prosecutor's office, even for consideration of charges. The decision that nothing's going to happen with the case happens right there in the law enforcement agency. When you ask them why and you look at it, a lot of times it goes back to these types of issues. The victim didn't behave right. There's something weird about how she reacted that makes us doubt her credibility. We know that between 12 to 50% of rape victims experience tonic immobility. It is called rape-induced paralysis in this context, where the key word there is paralysis. The victim cannot move in the trauma. It is hardwired into the body as a protective mechanism. So this is a case study from a gang rape. The victim was frozen as they take turns going in and sexually assaulting her one after another after another. Her body did what it needed to do to try to keep her alive. So she goes to the hospital. She has a rape kit. She gives the initial report to the police officer. The police officer refuses to take the kit. He said it was a sloppy mess. And he closed the case right then and there. He marked it as unfounded. When I interviewed him later, I asked him why, and here's what he said. He said, she just laid there, so she must have wanted it. No one wants to have a train pulled on them, so if she just laid there and took it, she must have wanted it. When we look at how police are trained on the issue of sexual assault, more often than not, in the academy, what they learn is, this is the law, these are the different degrees of the law. Do they learn about victim behavior? No. Do they learn about trauma? No. Do they learn about how trauma impacts memory? No. And so they bring to the interaction an expectation that victims should behave a certain way. If you're really traumatized, you should be crying, you should be upset, you should be demonstrative, you should be grateful for my help. So what they see doesn't look like a real victim. And if this isn't a real victim, then we're not investigating it, and we're certainly not testing the rape kit.
So, Kim, are you getting good coverage here?
Most of them are on board, yeah.
So the press are in, so we have them with us. I just think it's so important. But, you know, also to get people personally invested to say,
right.
You know, there's something great when somebody says you can't do it, and you're like, you know what? Fuck you.
It could be anywhere.
I can't do it.
It could be,
I can do it. Also, you don't tell me what I can and can't do. And all it takes is focus, dedication, and commitment.
We have so far, out of the over 11,000 that were found, tested 1,600 kits. And 100 serial rapists have been identified. We had to literally make a database, take information off of every single kit, name, where it happened, date. In many cases, we were taking the huge journals and flipping through those and trying to find anything we could to match up those kits. If you can track a package, when you order something from Amazon, you can track that package online and know where it is at every moment, to know why your items haven't arrived, where they are, then certainly we ought to be able to track, with today's technology, a victim's rape kit through the criminal justice system. I've said long, since 2009, that all of these kits should be tested, but it doesn't make any sense to test them all and then not follow through with investigating and prosecuting them. And the CEO, Mr. Ficano, in his recent deficit elimination plan said that the Wayne County Prosecutor's Office is a low priority and we should cease prosecuting cases that come from this rape kit backlog and sexual assault. So violence against women is a low priority in this county to him.
Look, I was sheriff for 2 decades, so I'm very sensitive to criminal justice and the needs that are there. But when the money isn't there, you got to make some tough decisions sometimes that are part of that.
Sexual assault is probably the hardest, probably only second to child abuse and child molestation to prosecute. Jurors don't want to believe it. They find reasons and excuses to not convict. And there's a lot of victim blaming in sexual assault. It's a victim's fault. Why were you there? Why were you wearing that? And no one would ask a robbery victim, why were you wearing that necklace? That has nothing whatever to do with the fact that she was a victim of a violent crime.
What were you wearing that particular morning, Miss Hughes?
Some jeans and a shirt,
What type of shirt?
a work shirt,
Okay, like a T-shirt?
like a pullover.
Okay. I guess I'm not sure what a pullover is. And when the driver gets out of the truck, what do you see him do?
Walking towards me.
And what do you do at that point?
I stood there.
Okay, you didn't step back, you didn't run, you didn't call 911?
No.
Okay.
Did you fight him?
No,
Okay. Did you try to kick at him or kick him off?
not really, because I didn't want him to shoot me.
The verbal conversation is talking about money, correct?
No.
It's not talking about money for sex?
No.
Okay. What is the verbal
A
conversation?
gun pointed at me, telling me to get in or I'm going to shoot you.
Okay, that's the only thing that was said?
That's what he was saying.
Okay. Thank you.
You are certainly a sum of everything that's happened to you. It's a part of my past, but it's something that I don't think about very often, and that's very unlike a lot of sexual assault victims. This happened back in 1980. I was in law school at the time, my first year. I thought that I would never be a lawyer, and that had been my goal since I was in 6th grade. And I thought that I would either drop out or be so traumatized if I really faced it head on. And so I made a decision very early on that I wasn't going to report it. I did go to the doctor, but I wasn't going to report it. Literally, I believed that I would not survive if I went that other path. And it still was after that for many, many, many months about just feeling like just dead inside. I have adopted daughters, and you want them to grow up in a world where there may not be sexual assault, or if, God forbid, they are sexually assaulted, their case will be important. Their kit would not be sitting on a shelf. You just want things to be better for them.
How we doing, guys?
Good, how are you?
Nicole,
Go ahead.
she has a serial case to run by you.
He is currently on parole in North Carolina. We have 3 cases on him, one from 95, one from 97, and one from 1998. Now, this victim, Danielle, she feels a lot of guilt that had she not gotten herself into that situation, this wouldn't happen.
She blamed herself rather than
Absolutely.
the rapist. Okay. She was raped. She got a rape kit. She reported. It's not her fault. You've got to track him down.
With this interstate cooperation, you guys work in cold cases. I think we're gonna be going back and forth with a lot of our perpetrators.
I mean, anytime you can get this kind of person off the street that's truly a predator, and it's obviously in his past shows he's a predator, is a good day.
We're hoping that he shows up for this probation meeting and we can get him into custody, and hopefully he'll talk to us.
Bass. Aye.
His vehicle was at the house, so.
Now, when you talked to the probation agent this morning, did she say he was going to come at some point this morning? Is that what I heard you say?
She said he was gonna be here at 10.
At 10.
And that was 45 minutes ago.
I mean, we got to get him one way or the other.
We feel comfortable going and getting him.
You want us in there?
We go in, we'll be coming out.
You want to go in there?
He's getting dressed. You just wait here, Raven. Guess you're probably wondering why you're here. Well, in 1995, did you happen to have sex with this woman?
Probably so. Ain't no telling.
You what?
Probably did.
But you don't remember her?
I don't know.
No?
It was doing PCP and everything. It was a lot of parties, a lot of women. I don't know.
Okay. She was taken to a building, held for a long period of time, and raped repeatedly?
Not about me.
No?
Hell no.
She called, they were gonna hang out, kick it, and then she ends up getting raped. Does that sound familiar? Does it ring a bell? You didn't have sex with her. Why, or what do you think I'm here with 3 different victims who've all been raped? And we're talking to you.
I don't know.
No? Have you ever raped any women? No? Did you ever get a girl so intoxicated and then take advantage of her? No? Because you know that's against the law as well. If somebody can't give informed consent, that's against the law as well.
Yeah, but we both intoxicated too. I don't know. You raped me. I don't know.
So you want to explain how your DNA's in the 15-year-old?
I don't know.
Or on the 15-year-old? Or in her panties?
I don't know. She probably was partying and got into an orgy and probably did some shit she didn't want to do and regretted it. And people do a lot of strange shit. You don't know why.
But if they don't know you, if you're not tight with any of these people, they have no revenge, right? You haven't done anything to any of these women, right?
See, that's what I'm saying. I don't know.
They didn't come to me. I got DNA and I went to them. So why are they still gonna say, yep, I was raped? What do they have to gain?
Take it to court. I ain't raping them girls. I'm take it to court. I'm go to court.
Looks like you're getting a trip back to Cleveland.
Not knowing what would happen next in the judicial system was a huge lead blanket over my life. I began researching and found articles talking about how Charles Courtney, he was a convicted rapist. The other rapes he was connected to had kits that were part of the backlog in Ohio.
God, I don't remember when I found out about Helena. Just by his character, and I could tell that I wasn't the only one. He'd done things too. I knew there was other people out there, and there probably still is more out there. You know, he was a truck driver and from Ohio, Indiana to California. And Helena's from California, so in all honesty, I believe there's more women out there along the way that he's probably, because he's a serial rapist.
In Amberly's case, Charles took a plea and he got sentenced to 30 years.
Did you speak at his sentencing?
No. My family did.
State of Ohio versus Charles Courtney, Jr.
Your Honor, the victim is present in court
but does not wish to make a statement. Her father, mother, and grandmother are here and would like to address the court.
I'd just like to say that this man kidnapped, raped, terrorized, threatened my daughter's life, robbed her, and for the past 2.5 years she's been through hell. And it's time for him to pay for the crimes that he committed.
You know, he took something from my daughter that nobody should take from a woman. He was just released from prison, and within 4 months he did it again. And I'm certainly thankful that this has finally caught up with him.
Charles Courtney, I have no sympathy for you. And you know, God tells me to love my enemies, but I find it very, very hard to love you. And I'm going to say something that maybe I'm not allowed to say, but if I had my way, you'd definitely go to prison. But you'd be in prison without some of your parts.
For my own case, because it had been so long, the statute of limitations had expired and they were not able to charge him with rape. But the DA found a loophole, which was to say that because he had taken $20 from my wallet, it was now abduction with intent to commit another crime, which was to take my $20. That was the only reason that we were able to file a charge at all. And because of that, they were able to get him to plead to 25 years to life. But if he hadn't done that, if we hadn't found that loophole, that exception, there wouldn't have been any justice for me. Something that I've found ever since then is that I'm not angry at Charles Courtney. I have long moved past that feeling, and I feel like terrible things happen to people. Violence is learned, and I have compassion for him. I don't have compassion for the system that made this okay, because the system should be more accountable. The system should be better than a criminal.
If they would have took it more serious and believed Helena and did their jobs and ran her rape kit in a timely manner, I would have never got raped because he would have already been caught.
I just have this feeling to this day that there are rape kits that haven't been processed that his DNA is on across this nation. And I wouldn't be surprised if they found a body attached to him. I wouldn't be surprised if he killed one of those victims.
It's me, it's Erica. My sister challenged me to the gospel challenge. I can't sing either. We two non-singing sisters, but I'ma sing anyway. Okay? Don't judge me when my CD starts skipping either. With me, it is well with me. The organization that I was working with, we were putting on a conference, and Kim Worthy was one of our speakers because it was national news about the abandoned warehouses that the rape kits were in. When she started talking about the findings and the numbers, before that day, I don't think I connected it mentally or emotionally. And I said to her, I was like, I just wanted you to know that those numbers, I'm one of them. You know what I mean? Like, it's not just numbers. Like, here I am in front of you, like, you're talking about me. And her face, she was like blown away, like, oh my God. She hugged me and she held my hand and she said, you know what, call me. She said, I'm gonna follow up with you. She didn't lie. I didn't reach out to her, she reached out to me. She told me, we have found your kid, and if you wanna move forward, we can move forward. And my biggest thing was the shame. People will know. People will know. I had to learn in this process. The shame that's associated with it, because it is a shameful thing, it's not mine, it's his. And I got the courage to go ahead and take the next step. Okay, so here we go. I've been carrying something for 12 years. On Facebook, everybody sees how, I advocate for different things, and y'all know I'm a part of a larger community of workers. So on my 21st birthday, I was sexually assaulted by someone, and I had a rape kit done. And it's been sitting on the shelf. So all of those 11,000 untested rape kits that they found, I had one of them. But that's been my biggest secret for 12 years. It's been 12 years, my birthday this year. I just had to get it out and stop trying to hide and sneak in. People ask me questions and I'm like not being all the way honest. You know what I mean?
I'm sorry for whatever you had to experience as far as that. I hope to catch the son of a bitch and put him far back in the jail. I'm proud of you. I'm glad you're releasing whatever's holding you down. Definitely.
Yeah. Like, I already feel better now. I'm ready. When I reflect back, one of my favorite words that I learned is unapologetic. So I've learned to be unapologetic about who I am and what I believe. So at least you know why I'm taking Spanish? For the neighbors. So I can talk to the neighbors better. Mm-hmm. So I started a block club on our street. Oh. Ooh. I'm getting ready to run for city council. I'm evidence that regardless to what happens to you, you can get through it. You can move past it, you can grow, you can change for the better. I am evidence that there's more to that box. It's a human being there. This is not just a kit, this is a person. And the God that I believe in, we don't have to get a victory at court. Bye, honey. Bye. You still get what's coming to you. I'll be free.
Hey. I brought you some good news. Guess who's in jail?
Out here, too?
Nope, down in North Carolina still. So how are you?
I'm okay. I had some difficulties when this first came up, with new feelings about it, because I hadn't thought about it, and since it, I pretty much buried it since it had happened. As soon as I saw his face on that sheet, I just knew right away who he was. I didn't think about that face, but now, I never forgot.
We just don't know if he'll plea. We don't know if it'll go to trial. With all three of our cases, he's indicted on 3 counts of felony 1 rape, 3 counts of felony 1 kidnapping, and 1 count of corruption of a minor for our 1 victim that was younger than you. If he got max, he's looking at a minimum of 33 years.
Oh, wow.
If he got max.
Wow,
And those are set sentencing.
that's great.
So, I know.
Thank you so much.
Nice job being so strong.
Thank you. You helped me.
Linda, you want to tell us about the stats?
Sure. We have in progress 1,384 cases. We've completed 790 cases.
These rape kits are the best bargain in the history of law enforcement. $400 a rape kit, and 1 in 4 results in an indictment. 1 in 4 of the 4 is a serial rapist. I've never seen an opportunity like this in law enforcement. It'll never happen again.
My goal is to get grand jury time every week.
You can't change or fix what happened to one person. You know, you can be empathetic about it, you can listen, you can tell their story, but you can't change that. What you can change is what might happen to someone else.
Hey, how are you? I'm good. I'm good. Thank you very much. Take care. Thank you. Bye-bye. It's so funny. I remember having a conversation with Mariska, and we talked about how we had 100 serial rapists, and we were like, wow, how could that 100 people out still raping because the kits that pointed to them weren't tested, and that meant many more than that because we knew that because these were the identified serial rapists, and now we have 770. I think it's like 774, but over 770 identified serial rapists. That's almost 1,000. Over 770 identified serial rapists just out of this project, just in one city, in one county, in one state.
I've been getting these reports about what you've been doing, and it's a constant education for all of us now.
There's been a lot of talk about the progress that's been made, and it's been, I mean, I don't know that I really sat back and appreciated it. We have no training in med school, PA school, nursing school, on how to do these kits. And now we go into the hospitals, train physicians, the PA schools, the nursing schools, looking to try and standardize programs. So we've been working with partners at the state level to try and get that in place to make sure that there are programs everywhere.
What we saw in Detroit was when you pull them off the shelf and you test them, and this has happened in Cleveland, it's happened in Los Angeles, it's happened in New York, when you test them and you start seeing the matches, the hits, kit to kit to kit. So the proof's in the pudding. How do we rebuild survivors' trust in the criminal justice system? There needs to be an apology. And we need to be creating different solutions, different options. We need to be bringing survivors in to say, give us another chance. The benefit to public safety of testing these kits is almost impossible to put into words.
The day that it sank in for me is when Detroit Police Department sent me, I don't know, it might have been you, Mark, when you sent me that list of victims' names. Because a kit is a kit. But when you get that list of names and it just scrolls down and it doesn't stop, and it just keeps going and going and going, you're like saying to yourself, all right, this is something where we can't rest, right? This is something where we have to go till, we have this leader right here just pursuing the justice and
I know y'all talk about me behind my back, but that's okay.
No, in a good way.
We've been at this since August of 2009. Our results from our testing have links to 30 crime scenes from 39 other states. So that means there's only 10 states in the United States that haven't been affected by our rape kits that were found in one city. If anything positive has happened from all of this, it's that people are talking about it and people know about it and others have come forward.
Just got a phone call from the investigators, and so we know my kid has been tested. We know that I picked a person out of a lineup. We know that that person has been questioned, and their DNA was taken at the time that they were questioned. The test results are in, and the profiles match. And I feel very free, and I feel new. And I want to encourage other women who may be watching this video that have experienced a rape, a molestation, any act of violence to
press forward because I feel strong. I feel stronger than I've ever known I could feel, and in ways that I've never known that I could. All right, I'm done. I gotta get it together. Oh man, but I love you all and thank you. God bless.
They need to let us decide if we're going to send the kid in and when we send the kids in. Because the majority of our rapes, not to say we don't have rapes, we do, but the majority of our rapes that are called in are actual consensual sex.
Now what?
I don't know. I got this something fun.
You want to have some fun? You know how to drive?
Nope.
Thank you.
The DNA identified by testing my kit brought a serial interstate rapist to justice. If it had been done earlier, at least one other rape could have been prevented, perhaps more.